Officially welcome you to our call today. And
Thank you.
so nice to see you again. I know we've chatted numerous times to try and get our date set so we could get together and chat. But just for the listeners that don't really know any history about what you and I discussed, just to confirm with you that we met was probably a month and a bit ago, where I was in Nelspruit attending a group to chat to you guys about the benefits of colostrum. And after I'd done my talk, you approached me, and we ended up having what I felt was a really nice conversation to try and look at all the little things that you were struggling with. And that's the reason of today's call, is to just to chat through that, and be able to sort of cast your mind back a little bit and pick up on what changed, because there's a few questions I have, and I'm really excited about being able to do this on a Zoom call. And again, I want to thank you for taking the time to sit here and share what you felt has changed in your world. Number one, based on what we chatted about, and secondly, we'll get to the colostrum part, but this is often um, the type of conversation that I get excited about, particularly when we met for the first time, because the way I see things going and in sort of helping people with their various symptoms and ailments and weight and all those sort of things that come into the equation all the time, is instead of just addressing, your medication as such, and adding on medication, we don't want to look at treating symptoms here. We want to try and get to the bottom of what the cause is that gets somebody into a state that they're in. And I think there's a lot of psychological stuff that you and I discussed that maybe just highlighted what you need to focus on and what you need to change. And I wonder if you could just give me and just share a little bit about what you felt you experienced, and maybe a different approach that maybe I had to a traditional doctor in what he's, maybe diagnosing or wanting to change for you. So maybe just share a little bit about what you felt was important to you, and when did the light come on? So I want you to just run through, just off the top of your head, what you felt was important. What was the time where you felt, hang on a sec, there's something else going on here? Because you made quite an empowering decision for yourself to make changes in your life. And there were triggers. So I want you to just share a little bit about what you experienced, and just say it as it is.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anthony, and thank you for having me on this platform. And I think, I was in a very bad space holistically, mentally,
Yes.
emotionally, health-wise, in every sense that you can imagine. And, after the meeting, I came to you, and the time that you took, just to go through so much detail, which was very valuable to me. And specifically, you spoke not only about just your health, but you also touched on mental and emotional and spiritual, because it is important to align all of these things into into your life, rather than just health wise. And I felt that life was just, I was not in control. I
Yes.
think, and I felt that my mind was controlling me more than I was. And the way you broke it down for me made so much sense. And I think I'd like just to take one specific. When you
Yeah.
said to me, you need to be in control, you need to look after yourself so that you are able to look after the others. And it sounds to me like everybody's controlling you. And it was, in a sense, really, because I came last in everything, and it didn't matter whether I was fine or I wasn't fine. As long as everybody else was okay, then
Yes.
I will just deal with whatever consequences that happened. And there were many consequences that happened to my body. And most of my sickness came from that,
Yes.
And so the first exercise that I did was to try and be still.
Aha.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
And you said to me, you just start every day with just a couple of minutes and take it through an hour, up to an hour. And it was so difficult the first couple of times, but by the fourth time, I learned to set the alarm. So 10 minutes, 5 minutes, going on to 10, 15. And the one day I did 15 minutes and I was like, no, I'm going to continue keeping still. And as I did this exercise, I didn't take anything from it in the sense of, okay, what is it actually doing? But about a week or two later, I realized that I was now more vocal. Being a very quiet person, I became more vocal.
Okay.
I began to feel I was more in control. And even in my relationships where I wouldn't speak if somebody, has hurt me, or I rather they are okay before I am. But I learned to voice out and say, no, I'm not going to do that.
All right.
Maybe later, but right now I'm not. And it was so liberating. Like the lights all just came on just from that alone.
And it's such
So it was pretty exciting.
such a simple thing to do, actually, and when you say that to somebody, I want you to listen to yourself and be still. And maybe just for the sake of the exercise, we need to just elaborate a little bit on what I actually meant behind that, because this is what we call the body running the mind. In other words, you become addicted to a lot of the emotions that you are unaware of, and so you get into this copy and paste exercise every day of thinking the same and feeling the same, and essentially when you get up in the morning, you're not conscious of what you're thinking about, because you get up and do things in the same way, in the same pattern. And we say that if you're not changing your energy and you're not changing your thinking, then by all means you remain the same. So what you were thinking about yesterday and the day before was all pretty much the same. So we need to rearrange our thinking, and the point of getting you to sit still was that the body gets conditioned to response. And especially with your thinking, you can sit there right now, right in your chair, and you can just have a thought come up to your mind, which can trigger an emotional response. You can go back to a memory. And as soon as you're aware of that, your body wants to respond and get up and do things and all the rest of it. So we say that the body starts to becoming in control. In other words, the servant has become the master. And what we've got to do is get back into our minds and start controlling the body, because we know all too well right now that there's a science in the chemicals that get released, which are parallel to the thinking that you have. In other words, they say that you have about 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. Did you know that? And
No.
if 90% of the time your thoughts are spent in negative emotions, every single emotion produces a matching chemical that the body produces to match the feeling to how you're thinking. So it starts to change your physiology quite dramatically. So this is the side of getting your health back into state, by learning how to think correctly and raising your energy, because we can get into a habit unconsciously of not listening to those thoughts that are coming in, and if something comes in that doesn't suit you, you've got to be able to catch it, change it, and raise that thought to something higher than what's going on. So it's a case of awareness, and not many doctors are aware of this side of what I call a mind-body medicine, because it has a dramatic effect in the change. Now, you experienced, just enough to say, wow, there's actually something going on here. And it's so subtle. And it happens where suddenly you become a little bit more aware of something else. And then another light goes on. And then once you get going, you start to pay attention to the changes, because they're nice feelings, right?
Absolutely.
So now we're changing for what we used to feel to where we want to go to, which is a better place. So we're starting to prune away those synaptic connections in the mind, those things that we used to give a lot of attention to, and they're now starting to shrivel up. So those visions and changes that you're going to become your new future, your new path of where you're going to. And along with that, you get an upgrade in your system, a biological upgrade. So it's quite incredible what this does to your health. So, we tend to focus so much on what you eat, which is absolutely important. We'll get to that in a moment. Because you are made up a lot more than just your nuts and bolts about diet and exercise. You know that now.
Yeah,
There's so much more
definitely.
to it. And if we just focused on one small segment of the pie, we've forgotten about the rest of you. So I can't see the value in a consult really with somebody in a 10 or a 15-minute session to just look at what you present as symptoms and then, write a prescription, because we need a diagnosis. And once we've got the diagnosis, we can recommend the correct symptomatic treatment. In my view, that's very short, because it doesn't address you. You are made up, you have a history, you've had a life, you are where you are now as a result of things that have happened. And unless we're able to look at your package and say, well, let's have a look at you. How about you? Make you feel important, not just somebody standing there rattling off a whole bunch of symptoms. We're trying to find out what caused you to be where you are. And if we're not addressing the cause, then we can't really continue doing symptomatic treatment all your life, because it just never fixes you. So, the simple things that you started to do in a psychological value about, talking about control, we did discuss that, where you felt like you were losing control. And the more you feel like you are losing it, the more that becomes an anxious state for you. So it just seems to snowball, where you feel more and more anxious. You feel like you're more and more and more out of control. And just by starting with simple exercises like what you did, allows you to be conscious. And you're starting to watch the information that's coming in, because if you can think about it like this, I want you to think about being aware of being aware. It's almost like you're above yourself and you're watching yourself think. Does that make sense?
Wow.
Okay,
Yes, it does. It does. Yeah.
so when you say, I want you to be aware of being aware, it's a bit of a double barrel, okay? So you're now conscious of what you are thinking about from a slightly different level. And you can now control what's coming, what you don't want and what you do want. And we can now choose the level of thought that we were used to unconsciously coming in and damaging you, to saying, I don't want that thought. I will override and I will choose something. And it takes a lot of work. Let's be honest. It's, you'll catch yourself during the day in your car, or maybe in traffic, and somebody cuts you off and suddenly you get uptight. But as long as you're aware of it, okay, that you can catch yourself. And there's a phrase that I use that if you're able to think greater than how you feel, now I want you to really listen to this carefully. If you can think greater than how you feel, all right, then it allows you to change your energy. It allows you to upregulate your thinking, because we need to, when you experience certain emotions, okay, there's normally a thinking that goes hand in hand with those emotions. And I'm talking about the negative emotions, the fear, the anxiety, the worry, the stress, all those sort of things that are on the negative line. But at the time that you're experiencing them, you want to be aware to think above that, to raise the vibration. So suddenly you catch yourself thinking, hang on a sec, I want to place better thoughts in my mind. Remember that a strong thought is really, really good for you to understand the strength of a thought, because you can have, if you think about it like this, weak questions deserve weak answers, right? Strong questions deserve stronger answers.
Absolutely.
All right. So I want you to think about your thoughts like that. Quality, positive thoughts and emotions, because it drives your chemistry. So we don't want to spend too much time on that, but you've expressed a little bit of from the time that you sat down the first time to be still, and this is, I described it like training a horse, okay, getting it to be still so that eventually it can be quiet and listen to you. So at first it wants to jump up and kick and run and all the rest of it. And you're saying to yourself, well, my body is that horse, that stallion, and I'm going to be in control of it. So body, you will sit and you will shut up and you will listen to me and you will get up when I tell you to. Right. I know we played with that a little bit, but you got the idea,
Yes.
and you knew exactly what you needed to do. And it's the strangest thing, because suddenly when you're sitting and you're listening, and you will feel this sensation of the body sending the thought up to the mind of, you need to go to the loo now. You need to go and send the message to that person right now. That person you had the argument with at the office last week, it needs that response. No, it doesn't. Not right now. You will stay right, and you'll get up when I'm ready. So
it's amazing.
It's just the strangest thing. And there's so many amazing strategies that you can start to put into place, because everything must be designed to make you feel better and happy, because you want to spend your days in a happier space. And we don't want to be taking information from things around us, whether you're at work or whether you're with family, and letting all of those external things change how you feel internally. Okay, remember,
Correct.
you are also human, and you can have a moment. If I have moments, we all have moments where we are pissed off with something and we react. But here's the question: how long are you going to remain in that state? Okay.
That's right.
So that's something to be consciously aware of, is to react to that. You feel that, you engage with it, but then you're done with it and you move on. Instead of putting that in the backpack and you stack in another few items of things that you're going to remember now because they really hurt you, okay, and we're going to leave them in there and we're going to take them out when we need them, and suddenly you're back into that explosive, angry energy about things that happen that are not really that important, are they?
No.
It's crazy, but we tend to focus on them. So anyway, again, that was such a nice thing to hear, that you actually did that. You took what I said and you went and sat down and you started to do that. And well done, because it's the beginning. And once you're aware of being aware, guess what?
Yes.
You don't go backwards. You don't go back.
No, not at all.
It's just that carrot, that seed that has dropped in you, because did it change your level of hope in you? Something as simple as that.
Oh, yes. I mean, you speak about taking control of your emotions and, of circumstances that surround you and how you react to situations. And that was just like, it followed through. Like anything negative that came by, I was like, okay, I'm not going to entertain that. I'm not even going to listen. I'm moving along, and whatever that you need fixing that's negative in your life, you approach it and you say, okay, this is what it is. What can I do to change it? Let me change what I can. What I can't, that's it. I'm moving along. So those kind of things, as I was going through them, it empowered me. It
Yes.
brought me to a better space. I mean, surely if you look at me now and when I came to you, I think it's two different people.
Well, Bella,
Same person, but so much difference.
you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm looking at a face that I'm thinking, was it really you that I spoke to? Yeah, it's quite incredible. So, you know, the need for me to really chase you down and do this interview is because it's important to share this, because what you experienced, I can't tell you how many other people are going through the same situation in their health and they don't know where to start. And unfortunately, our lovely doctors have a certain way of doing things, and prescription medicine I find is very, very short-sighted. I'm not saying I'm dead against it. I just, for a short space of time maybe, but not chronic. We need to really be helping people on a different level, so that they can get to the bottom of what they're struggling with. So I want you to just run through the type of the things that you were struggling with. Let's just share with our listeners, what are the sort of things that you were battling with? I mean, in your health.
It was a lot really, because being an apnea patient, there's a lot that just deteriorated in my health from that. Chronic anemia,
Okay.
blood pressure. Okay, insulin resistant I was way before.
Yes.
Always just struggled with my health, with my weight.
Okay.
Always struggled with my weight since I was diagnosed with insulin resistance. So I struggled with my weight quite a bit.
Yeah.
And just being OCD, but a good OCD, which is really good.
Yeah.
That was, I think the mental side was really affected me completely. It affected my health. If anything just went sideways, then my health would go worse. Everything that I had, if I had a headache, it was amplified.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So, and if it was bad, it was amplified to terribly bad.
Okay.
Whatever it was, But since having the chat with you, on the 18th of Feb, and going through all the, what you gave me, the skills that you gave me, it made such a huge difference. So the perspective also changed. I am naturally a very positive person.
Yeah.
And I am naturally somebody who never gives up, no matter if I'm drowning or not. But I think if you look at holistically what I was struggling with in my health, and how it affected me, I didn't feel liberated.
100%. Yeah.
And I did feel that, I am actually not in control. I worried about the chronic meds that I was taking. I worried that, it's just not getting better. It's getting worse. But so far, I am really in a good space.
Yeah, Bella, I think
Not where I
there's
want to be, but definitely moved way up the ladder from where I was.
Well, I mean, I always say to some of the patients, if they experience 5% better than what they were maybe a week or two ago, 5% is enough to open the door. 5% is enough to shine a new light. Okay, that it means you're heading in the right direction. Because as long as you're not going backwards, or at worst case scenario, staying where you are, God forbid, nobody wants to be in that place, because it's not nice, right? So
yeah,
if you're starting to improve and you're making changes, that is enough to kickstart anybody to say, well, hang on a sec, that actually felt really good. So suddenly you realize, hang on a sec, but I'm human again. I actually can feel, and I feel what's not good, and I feel what is good for me. We start to focus on the good. Surprisingly, it's the mindset change and being aware of what's coming in and what's going out. So that's really a lot of information that we threw around. I kind of felt like maybe it was a bit too much or overwhelming. Can you remember any of the other things that we spoke about that made a difference in your thinking?
No, I think you know, where you said look after you, you know, look after yourself first.
Yes.
Um, and I always put myself last.
Aha.
So I began to try and change that slightly. And
Mm-hmm.
the more I changed it, the more I realized I need to be okay. If I
Yes.
need to look after anybody, and I need to be okay, because at the moment I'm running myself down to the grave,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
And you were burning
And
out.
so I was burning out terribly.
Yes.
And and from that, I've been able to put my foot down
Mm-hmm.
on certain things and say, oops, no, I'm not going there. This is my health first. I
Yes.
need to do this first.
Brilliant.
Even when it comes to work, I wouldn't sleep until I'm done with my report, whether it takes me till 3 a.m. or 4 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And when I felt tired, I realized, okay, you're going to go to bed now and you're going to wake up early and you're going to get it done because your health first. So that for me was also a good, change that took place
Yes.
from our meeting. And I really value it because remember, I've been doing this for many, many moons.
Mm. Mm.
And it's taken a toll on me emotionally, mentally, physically, even spiritually,
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, and just being able to understand that the body's not just it's not just about the food you eat, it's not just about
Mm.
the exercise that you're supposed to do. And most traditionally, that's the words that you hear from doctors,
Yeah.
from fitness instructors. It's all about what you eat and physical exercise.
Mm.
But
You
it's
see
more.
you
It's
actually
more.
see how when you talk about mind body medicine, okay, people kind of look at you like, what are you talking about? Isn't it just about the physical nuts and bolts about what you eat and what supplements you're on and what meds you're on? And it's so seldom that they include the most important part of the top floor. That's you, what's going on inside of
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
Because in order to heal, so there's always two states. You're either in growth and repair or you're in fear and survival.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we
Mm-hmm.
need to understand the difference here. And
Mm-hmm.
out of those 60 to 70,000 thoughts in a day, if you spent 95% of your time in negative thinking, which is down regulating genes for disease, okay, how much time do we
Mm-hmm.
spend focused on the wrong stuff, which is hurting you? But we need to understand
Yes.
the science of it. This is very, very real. It's not just something that I've, come up with. It's a science on its own. It's exactly how it works. And when you start to change the thinking, you start to upregulate the genes. Genes are proteins, and proteins are responsible for the, keeping the body together. And we want to upregulate good quality proteins so that you can get better and stronger. So when you understand the link and the science, suddenly you think, oh Lord, um, you know, I'm now aware of that because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's what's been hurting you. We now need to, and the body, remember that it has the capacity to heal itself very, very quickly
Mm-hmm.
if you give it
Mm-hmm.
the right stuff and the right tools. Going to talk about the colostrum. Um, and we'll just chat about the nuts and bolts as well, because I did want to cover just a little bit of both,
Okay.
and just run through what happened when you started the colostrum. So I'm going to end off now, and then give me a minute or two, and then we can just run into the colostrum and have a brief chat about that.
Okay.